What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Chad and I are back with you finally. I know we've been off for a while, guys, and I've been on vacation and we're going to get some shows in. And then Chad's going on vacation. You know, it's just summertime. We have families, but we're hanging out with an awesome guy here, Eric Koenreich. He is a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, I almost said black belt. It's a brown belt, actually.
Someday.
Someday. It's coming,
Wishful
right, Eric?
thinking, wishful thinking. Yeah.
He's also a father, a husband, and he has started an awesome platform. He has a huge social media platform, Tired Dad Fitness Club. He's a mental coach, a fitness coach. And hey, man, we just want to hang out and talk jujitsu, talk life, and everything like we always do on this show. So, Eric, thank you so much, man, for hanging out with us. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you for having me. One of my favorite things is hanging out and talking a lot. I do it for a living, basically.
Sure.
This is nice.
When you wanted to, so obviously I do my due diligence, at least read a little bit about you. What was there a switch or something that just clicked and you were like, yeah, this is something that's needed? Because I love your whole mantra, your platform, and doing, because it's truth. There's facts. Imagine everything in there. Was there something that was just yeah, it's time to start helping people do this?
It would be very sexy and really interesting if I could just boil it down and distill this whole transformative process into this light bulb moment. And then everybody go, oh, I'm going to search for that. But it's not that convenient and it's not that quick. And it's actually a very long journey that I've been on over these past 2+ years. And you have to go through a lot of pain and torment and struggle to get to the point where you need to change. So I'm gonna give you guys the clip notes, but I think it'll sum it up pretty succinctly. I had a bakery and I loved this bakery. I made cookies. I made these half-pound cookies. I was a big junk food guy. I've loved sugar my whole life. I used to be really fat. I'm sure we can talk about that later, but that doesn't really matter here. But I love this bakery. And during COVID, we had an online only shipping business. It blew up. For the first time in my life, I was making some real ass money, and I was very excited because I thought I had found my forever job.
Sure.
So we parlayed that popularity and we saved the money and we opened up a brick and mortar. Problem was, that's when all the supply chain issues started to happen. People just weren't patronizing places as much because we were just coming out of COVID. They were a little gun shy. And honestly, the bakery business is a hard one. It's very, very slim profit margins. It's just a lot of hard work for very little return. You have to love what you do. And I loved what I was doing.
Sure.
But at the same time, I had a family to support and I was away out of the house a lot and I was causing a lot of stress. And I've struggled with depression my whole life. So when I started to feel this impending doom of my business closing, because I could feel it coming. I wasn't as positive back then as I am now. My mindset was completely different. And I let a lot of dark feelings and voices get to me. And I let myself kind of tailspin out of control. And so the worse business got, the worse I got. And the more depressed I became and the more miserable I was. And at the time, I didn't really realize how much I was taking it out of my family, how much, I guess my attitude was permeating the household. It was bringing everybody down. I had a short temper with my kids. My wife and I weren't that close. And a long story short, which I'm going to probably say that a few times here.
That's all right.
My wife confronts me. And we're best friends. We've never had a fight, but she confronts me. She goes, you know what, Eric? She had asked me to go to therapy, and I said, no, I don't need therapy. She'd asked me to go back on medication, which I had used before. No, I don't want to do that. And so she came to me straight up and point blank, in no certain terms, said, if you do not help yourself to improve, if you're not going to try to change here, I'm going to have to leave. And I was like, whoa. I did not know it was this bad. That was a big wake up call.
Yeah, it's a big wake up call. Sure.
You can't just turn it around overnight like that. So that began the journey, my odyssey, so to speak. And I began a journey of self-development, which included a litany of things. First thing I did was go back to therapy. Therapy's great, guys. If you got some troubles, I highly recommend it. It will help you out a lot if you find the right therapist. I got back on medication, which isn't necessary per se, but it makes the transition into this personal development journey a lot easier.
Sure.
And I started working on myself a lot, started spending a lot more time reflecting, repaired the relationship with my wife, started trying to work on being a better father And, you know, eventually as time went on, I began to feel a disconnect from the things I used to love, like drinking. Drinking no longer brought me any sort of joy because I just associated it with the negative physical effects of it. I never had a problem with drinking, but I just felt like, oh, this doesn't serve me anymore. It doesn't make me feel good. I don't want to do this anymore.
Sure.
And my whole other side gig at the time was, for a long time, was junk food blogging. I made this big career out of reviewing junk food with my kids.
Oh, wow.
Junk food
Really?
by myself.
Okay.
Yes. Which this is why the pivot's even fucking crazier. My original handle on Instagram was powered by ice cream. Like, you can go on YouTube. I have like 400 ice cream reviews on there.
Oh, wow.
You have officially the greatest 180 turnaround name from powered by ice cream.
Yes.
To tired fit dad club. Like, that's the best.
That's the nobody. Some people don't even realize that. And some people do, and they're like, "Whoa, weren't you the guy that was just doing reviews?" And they think that I'm just gone crazy and I'm a hypocrite. I'm like, no. You don't understand. You got to read the backstory. And I know I don't expect everybody to do all this research, but you know, I started going on this journey of personal development, and I just started feeling better. And I was like, you know what? I don't like. I used to just go out and try to hunt the new Oreo. You know, the new Oreo's out, we got to go get it. The new cereal's out, we got to go get it. We got to review it. It didn't feel exciting to me anymore. So I just stopped eating like junk food. And I still remember, and this is a testament to what a fat kid I was, and still am kind of at heart, you know. I, about 12 weeks ago, for the first time in my life, went a whole week without eating dessert. That was the first time in my life that I could remember.
Nice.
That I could remember. And then I just kept it going. I go, you know what? I did it. Let me try.
I wonder if I can keep going further. Right.
And I have not had, I haven't had ice cream in 3 months, 4 months. And it's not because I'm not one of those anti-sugar zealots. It's like, yeah, this is evil. It's killing us all. No.
Right. Exactly.
But for me, I do believe there is a link, whether it's psychosomatic or actually physiological, between that sugar intake, that junk food intake, and my mental state. All I know is when I do what I do, I feel that I can operate at a very high frequency. So for me, why would I stop doing that? Number one. And number two, why would I not tell every person on the planet how to live like that?
Yeah, 100%.
Because I talk to people every day that are struggling, and I feel freaking amazing. I want you to feel like me. Okay? I want you to feel like me. That's what if you hear, oh, you're selling stuff. Yeah, I am. Trust me, you want what I have. You want where I'm at right now. And so that was the process.
It's not like you're selling it like ice cream. You know what I mean? Like, you're selling something to make people better for themselves, not for you. You know what I mean? Like, you're passing the torch type deal, like we say, you know, in jiu-jitsu. Every person that's above always wants to build the person below up. That's kind of like your goal after you keep doing this. You're like, I know how hard this is. You know, Eric, you know how hard it is. Like, I seen, you know, obviously, like I said, I did due diligence. I saw pictures of you, older pictures of you and stuff. Listen, it's, you look amazing. Like, I can tell you put a ton of work in. Eric, everyone, he's not selling you a product. He's selling you a situation in order for you to be better in your life each and every day, which so many people don't understand that. And I love how you brought up there's a lot of social, little antics about the sugar thing, man, especially now, because sugar's not like it used to be. And Chad and I, like, we talk about this. I'm a big macros guy, so I weigh my food out. I use a scale, and I've done it for years. I got my wife to do it years ago. She started running, like doing long distance running and stuff like that. And she's like, I want to do what you do. And I was like, yeah, well, this is what you have to do. And it's a pain in the butt because we have 3 kids too. So, because they don't want to eat always like what we eat, but it's been always a process. And it's like, we talk about teaching that process of that. So what you're doing, man, like, I love it. When Chad said, hey, I reached out to a guy named Eric, I'm going to screw this up. Koenreich. See, I told you, like, I'm fortunate.
Ken like the dog, right? Just keep saying Ken like the dog, Rye like the bread. Ken
so
Rye.
I looked you up and everything, and I was like, oh yes, I definitely want to talk to this cat. Like, I love people that have something to give to other people. You know what I mean? Like, you've been there. You went through the pain. You went through the suffering. You know what it's like to be a bigger person, work out, get harder, figure out what works best for you, and then to get into the best shape of your life and feel the best and be positive. You know what I mean? So that's huge.
Yeah, I skimmed over some pretty gnarly stuff too. I mean, when I was younger, I was 300 pounds. And so I never had a good relationship with food. And I would lose the weight and gain it back. I could never understand why I couldn't stay at a certain place.
Sure.
And that's it took me 20 plus years to figure out it's not the how. It's not how you lose weight. It's not how to find the love of your life. It's not how to make more money. It's the who you need to be. You need to change the person you are.
Yep.
If you don't change the person, like I even did bodybuilding, I got shredded. But as soon as I got off that stage, because I was doing it for the wrong reasons, I was dieting for external validation, and to prove it to prove that I could get lean. And so I got off that stage, I rebounded and gained all the weight back plus more. Man. But now I don't even want to eat ice cream because I feel so good where I'm at. And I used to be a binge eater. I had multiple bouts, stretches with binge eating disorder. I mean, I would sit in my car when I was a personal trainer, sit in my car between shifts and just black out, wake up and come to covered. I mean, not literally, but kind of like what's the character's name? Ben Stiller's character in Dodgeball, White Goodman. Kind of like that. Yeah, like I'd be cut. There'd be just garbage strewn about my car, empty containers, this and that, and there's a lot of shame around food. There was a lot of shame around food and eating like that for me, and a lot of body image issues. So I really just wanted to break free of these bonds that had been kind of constraining me for so long. Felt like I had like a big wet blanket on me. Sure. And I want to help other people do the same. And once again, it wasn't just like I was a compulsive eater, but during that 2+ years of personal development, I abandoned drinking. I abandoned compulsive spending, which was another big vice of mine, another unhealthy coping mechanism, and also gambling. And that, these little instant gratification grabs we do. We want that, like that spike of dopamine right then, because we want to feel good right then. But all of these things, whether it's overeating, drinking, gambling, spending, after that spike hits and comes down, you are left with just an empty hole, a lot of regret and a lot of shame, because you're like, well, I still feel like shit, but now I have less money, or I'm fatter, or I feel terrible because alcohol is poison. So these things, the first thing I do with people is when guys sign up with me, and I don't work with just dads, I'm expanding my clientele to all men, because all men need this help. Yeah. And it's more, I just want them to drop whatever's holding them back. And a lot of times it's just a couple vices.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
It was going to be, it's more of, like I said, it's more of it's a teaching, it's a mental thing. We live in a society now where obviously mental health, I love it. Because I've dealt with many things like you have, and Chad as well. Like we've talked about it many times with other people, and him and I have talked about things. It's such COVID obviously wrecked a lot of people, didn't help anyone that had mental health issues, and it just pushed in, I think, kind of made things worse. Obviously, it changed a lot of things, but like what you're doing is like, hey, if you're overweight, I can help you, but also if you want to get in shape, maybe you're a skinny guy, but you want to get in great shape and you want to eat right, but your mental health is a little messy. You know what I mean? Like you can help them. And that's key, man, because we need more people like you in our society now that are doing that on a regular basis, because we know it's such prevalent. Mental health is such a huge thing out there, so that my 2 cents of.
No, it's kind of on the back. I'm not too crunchy. I have a little spiritual side to me, but it's not huge.
Sure.
But I will say this, that the external always reflects the internal.
Yes, 100%.
I mean, if you love yourself and you respect yourself and you feel good, you will nourish your body in appropriate manners. You won't drink. You won't do drugs. You will just be happy with what you're doing, because you're constantly feeling good. And that's what I try to preach, because mental health is linked definitely to physical health. If you're not, if you're trying to improve, if you're out there, if you're a man out there listening to this right now, and you're struggling with your mental health and you're not eating right and exercising consistently, you are doing yourself a disservice. You're shooting yourself in the foot. Definitely
100%. And you're shortening your span on this planet. You're shortening it by, I don't care. People can argue and be like, oh, you could work out and people have heart attacks and do this. You know what? The percentage is super, super small that happens versus overweight people and obese people in our country, in the world, let's be quite honest, that have issues and die because of that. You know what I mean? Yep. Like it's inevitable. Like it's awful that we live in this society. And you brought up something earlier, and we talk about, like dad bods are cool. Fat is cool, and I'm like,
I can cuss, right?
Yeah. You say anything you want.
Yeah,
anything you
want.
Yeah. But, and I'm always like, is it cool? Like, that's not cool, man. Like, I'm not going to rip you down. I'm not that person. Like, I want to pick you up. If you're in a bad spot, I get it. You have things going on in your life. I'm not here to tell you you've done anything wrong, but I'm here to help you and tell you, listen, man, you could be so much better.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu podcast. That's what, get into a gym. I got to get in shape. No, you don't. Just come, man. Just come through the doors. We'll take care of the rest. You know what I mean? We'll help you out. We'll do whatever it takes. We'll convince you. And it's a product of, the more you do it, the better you're going to eat. You're going to be like, oh yeah, I don't want to eat that anymore because it makes me feel like crap when I go and train. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
I would almost have people, we get that all the time where, like Terry said, oh, I got to work out, or I got to get in shape first. Always. Or it's you answer that question. It's like, oh, I don't have the time. Well, we have 15 classes a week. We can find time for you. So I would rather somebody just say, I don't want to do it than make up all these excuses. Like this, and go through that.
Yeah. I hate that. Like when I hear guys like, oh yeah, I want to sign up with you. Let me ask my wife. I'm like, man, what the fuck do you have to ask your wife? Hey, wife, do you like how fat I am and how I lack self-confidence and how I yell at the kids all the time because I feel like shit and I'm projecting? Do you think I should pay for somebody to help me with that?
Right.
Oh yeah, really? Yeah, I know you're not asking your wife. Just tell me that you aren't willing to invest in yourself. That's really what it comes down to. And look, you have kids, right? It's very important that we teach our kids to be sensitive. And now there's a difference between being soft and being sensitive. Mm-hmm. I want my kids to be tough but sensitive. I don't want them to be soft. I don't want them to whine or blame things on other people. I want them to take accountability and responsibility. Yep. Which is right. Like when people are like, oh, I'm fat because of this. No, you're fat because you eat too much. You don't exercise enough. Right, I was there. Right. I can say that.
Right. Yeah. You were there. You were there. Yeah,
I know. Exactly. I know how that works. Okay. And I want my kids to understand it's important to be empathetic and to be sensitive and to not go out of your. Don't say things that could hurt people's feelings. Yep. Like I don't. My kids. I got a 7-year-old, almost a 5-year-old, and one that's about to turn 2. And the 7 and the 5-year-old, every once in a while, they drop a fucking. I don't even care. I do not care. I don't say anything to them. But when I hear them say fat or stupid, I go, fucking say. I don't say fucking. Yeah. I don't like that. I don't like stupid. I don't like fat because those are the kind of words that make people feel less than.
Yep.
I will not body shame anybody. The problem, though, in America is that so many horrible, unhealthy behaviors have become normalized. Being overweight has become normalized. Drinking is become crazy normalized.
It's an epidemic, man. I mean, it really
horrible.
Is. Yeah,
it's horrible, and I don't like that. And I refuse to, especially with dads, like, oh, you gotta have, or even moms, oh, you gotta have a glass of wine after, the kids are stressing me out. Like, if your kids are stressing you out that bad, you need a better coping mechanism than drinking alcohol.
Yep.
TBH. So, but I just don't like those behaviors. But I will not body shame anybody because look, my body's very unaesthetic. Even though I'm lean, it's like I'm kind of built like a Lego. You ever seen a Lego character?
Yeah.
I'm built like
yeah.
I'm built like that. It's just, it is what it is. I don't have like a nice V taper. I'm not super aesthetic, but I can only control what I can control. Can't control my shitty calves that I got from my dad, or my weird back fat that I got from my dad, or my skinny arms I got from my dad. I got nothing from my mom.
But like you could go, oh, well,
I can control my diet.
I have this. Yeah. And so I'm not going to control my diet because, woe is me. But you're not, you know what I mean? No. And that's where it's like, we have to teach people to stop having that mindset that, woe is me because you're stuck with what you're stuck with. No, we can work with anything you have. It's just, you need to push yourself in order to, and you got to have a little bit of meanness inside you. You know what I mean? Like it's probably someone pushing you. And getting after you a little bit.
Somebody has to find that dog in you. Everybody's got a little dog in them. Some got more dogs than others, but you gotta find it. And like I said, I'm not gonna fat shame anybody, but I will mindset shame people. When people say, "Oh, I can't," "Oh, I'm," and they do the self-deprecating thing, and they, I'm fat, I'm too lazy. I'm like, no, stop that shit, because that's limiting beliefs that you are verbalizing. And when you say that stuff, that's what becomes
that's your truth. That's your truth.
Yeah, you verbalize those things. It's not, it's what you believe is what you see. Mm-hmm. So that's what's going to become of you. If you think you are destined and doomed to be fat for the rest of your life, your mind will just tell you that and just convince you of that forever. Yeah. And I never really gave much credit to the idea of the mentality, you know.
Sure.
But once I started working on it, I realized that it was really, for so long, my biggest issues were negative self-talk and limiting beliefs. And as soon as I started getting those out of my brain, which is easier said than done. I know everybody watching this.
That's like, a process. It's a process.
Yeah,
sure.
But once I did that, it opened the door of possibilities, and I started to actually see what I could become. And gratitude as well. Another thing I practice daily, like you said. Yeah, I don't know the most aesthetic body, but guess what? My shit works. Okay.
Sure.
And it works pretty good. I'm 41. I can still tap out dudes half my age and gas them out. So I'm happy with that.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to touch on a little bit. And I think you said it perfect, Eric, is the normalization of what all this stuff that we go through. It's okay to be this. It's okay to be that. Sometimes that's not, right? And what I've been talking about a little bit lately is, so I'll be 48 this year, 19 years of jujitsu. And what I see like on my Facebook a lot with older friends that I know that train other places is using their age as a crutch. I feel like, for sure, I'm not going to keep up with the 22-year-old athlete if I roll the way he wants to roll. Right.
I was going to say, you can.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. But, and that comes with time too. But I don't like that people use their age as a crutch as well. Right. It's like, oh, I'm this age, I shouldn't be able to do that. I started jujitsu at 29 years old. And I was a lifelong martial artist in karate and all that. And at 29, a lot of my family were like, man, you're still doing this at your age? I'm like, I'm not old. Like, I'm 29 just because, but the normalization of our parents, like my dad didn't do any exercise. He just worked, you know, 8, 10, 12 hours a day. Right. So I guess to that generation, it was odd that what we were doing. Right. So, yeah.
Yeah. I don't buy any excuse. I just, when I go into jiu-jitsu and there's younger guys, I honestly, I don't know how everybody else views this, but I'm like, I'm not letting this motherfucker get me. I don't give a shit. I'm going to like, and a lot of times I play bottom because I like to put myself in bad positions. Yeah, also because we didn't touch on, I was a professional wrestler for over a decade.
Yeah, I didn't. I was like, that's another thing. We could get into that for sure.
Even though I started jiu-jitsu when I was 35, not 35. What am I talking about? 30, what year is it? 37. So, you know, that's not like super old, but no, wait. Oh my God. How old was I? Whatever. I've been doing it for like 5.5 years. Do the math.
Okay.
Fucking, it's been a long day. It's been a long day. I spent a lot of time in Sunday. Math, not my strong suit. But you know, I had a lot of miles on my tires, beat up a lot from wrestling, and I knew that I was going to have to kind of monitor things and not be able to do a lot of the same, I guess, the schedules that some of these other guys were able to do 2 days, 4 or 5 days a week. I've never done a competition because I cannot adequately, for me, prepare for a competition in the way that I would want to, just because of my lifestyle and because of my injury history and things like that. That being said, I never go into a role thinking, oh, this guy's going to smash me. Like, I've never done that.
Sure.
And I've always prided myself on my cardio. So I'm like, all right, worst case, I'm gonna outlast him. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna get caught, you know. And even as a white belt, that was my big strength. I would just go in there and be like, all right, he's not getting me today.
Yeah.
So the age I never even thought about it. Sometimes I would get a little down on myself because I'm like, God, I wish my knees didn't hurt right now. I wish my neck didn't hurt, my back didn't hurt. But at the end of the day, you can't regret I can't regret all the fun I had through pro wrestling. It was a lot of dumb shit, but it was totally worth it. Tons of great memories, the ones that weren't knocked out of my skull anyways.
Sure.
And, yeah.
You wrestled in the era of like
chair shots to the head.
Super dangerous.
They called you a pussy if you put your hands up. So when I came in 2002, 2003, I would put my hands right down. I would just eat that shit, man.
Eat it,
and I was like, hell yeah, look at these little dots in my eyes. Oh, that's concussion now? I didn't know that. So people were like, how many concussions have you had? I'm like, oh, like 50 or so. They're like, oh, wow. I'm like, yeah, man. It wasn't the smartest decision, but hey, you know, I was young and dumb.
Hey, we all live with things that we've done. But look, I mean, look at where you came from and look at the legacy that you're building. You know what I mean?
Florida, see, yeah.
Florida. You know, I mean, it's good.
I don't know if I don't know if I told you that, Terry, but that's how I heard Eric's name was from Dom Guarini.
Oh, from Dom. Okay. So I wondered if okay, cool. So we have a purple belt at our
belt
gym,
now.
or brown belt. Sorry, Dom, if you're listening. I know, how dare I? I haven't seen him for a while, so yeah, sorry, Dom. But a great guy.
I leapfrog Dom. I think I was like all about to be a blue belt when I came back to wrestling, because I took like a 10-year hiatus, came back, and Dom was one of my first matches.
Oh, nice.
And he was still a purple belt, and I was still like I was like a 4-stripe white belt. And then because I had the luxury of not wrestling, and if you've never done professional wrestling, especially on like Dom, who has a regular gig where he's getting booked every single weekend, trying to train consistently through that is very, very difficult, because you're always getting nicked, you're always getting tweaked somehow.
Sure.
And
man, that's gotta be, I can imagine that's really hard, dude.
It sucks. And you can't go 100%. You can barely, I mean, not 100%, but you can't give everything. You can't grapple a lot of times. You're like, I'll just do the technique, whatever. And sometimes you can't train at all. So it's very difficult to balance those two things. I'm so happy that he finally got promoted, because I know we always have those conversations about that. But yeah, balancing any sort of athletic endeavor along, besides just like lifting weights, but even that's hard sometimes with pro wrestling. I don't think a lot of people understand how, even though the curtain's been pulled back for the last couple of decades, how physically taxing professional wrestling really is.
And yeah, it's a great point, man. Because people, I think, more than ever now that there's so many documentaries out there and people have an opportunity to go out there and actually view behind the curtain more and more. But I remember reading Mick Foley's book when it first came out, and I loved it. And Mick Foley's one of my favorite of all time. And just reading that curtain, like where that pulled back, and it was like, you don't do anything else. Like you can't live any other way, because you don't know when you're going to get a gig. And then when you do get a gig, you have to be prepared, and so on and so forth. And it's like, it's a hard life. When I started at East Coast, I'm a blue belt. It was, met Dom and everything. And then Chad's like, he's a professional wrestler. And I was like, excuse me? I was like, what? And then I knew why he was not there on weekends. And he's like, oh, I drove to Canada, then I drove here, and then I drove here, and now I'm here, guys.
Exactly.
I'm like, you've been up for 2 days, dude. Like, what are you doing? Yeah, that's crazy.
It's not an easy life at all.
So how did you always want to go back to jiu-jitsu after you had that hiatus? Were you like, I need to just get back and do this? Or
wrestling? Yeah. So, what's funny? So I retired in 2010, and the circumstances weren't optimal. I felt like I got the cold shoulder from the company I was working for at the time.
Okay.
And took 10 years off. And during that time, I met my wife, and I remember we went out for a date night. This is back when I drank, and we were both having margaritas. And she's like, "Do you have any regrets?" I go, "Oh yeah, I regret that I never got to have like a real retirement in professional wrestling. I just kind of
went away."
Back.
Okay, yeah.
She's like, "Why don't you go back?" I go, "Are you fucking kidding me? You serious?" Like at this point, we had 2 kids, and I'm like, "There's no way." She's like, "Why not?" I go, "Well, you'd have to like take care of both kids." She's like, "I got it. Just why not?" And I was like, "All right." I was a little tipsy. So
looking around the shoulders,
this is why you shouldn't drink, because you just do dumb shit like this. I started like tweeting out like, "Yeah, I'm back." And I got a booking inquiry, and I was like, "All right." And the reason I felt anywhere close to confident going back to professional wrestling was solely because of jiu-jitsu. Because the rolls, the warm-ups, the drills, the techniques gave me enough of that proprioceptive awareness that I felt like I wouldn't look like a complete dumbass back in the wrestling.
Sure.
I did it for 10 years. There's a lot of muscle memory there. You guys know.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you just stopped doing jiu-jitsu cold turkey for a year and you came back, you would convince yourself you were going to suck. Yeah. But you remember how to shrimp, right? You remember how to do a short roll, stuff like that.
Right.
You might remember how to do an armbar from guard. I remember, it's all coming back to me now. That's kind of how wrestling was. So I found a school in Tampa, and I did one in-ring session before my match. So it was all jiu-jitsu and one pro wrestling, and I did not make a complete fool of myself. And that was the thing. I wanted to come back to prove to myself that I could do it.
Sure.
The worst case scenario, I'd fall flat on my face, suck ass, and just be like, well, at least I know I suck. But it turned out, still kind of had it. So I wrestled for almost like a year after, and then COVID, before COVID.
And then COVID, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and it was really fun. I got to meet a lot of cool people, got to hear a lot of stories that made me feel really old. Like, oh man, me and my brother used to watch your matches on DVD after like middle school. And I'm like, what? You were watching me in middle school and now you're a wrestler. You're in the same ring as me. That shit's wild, dude. Made me feel so old.
I was going to say, is at the time you're like, I think it's time for me to hang these boots up.
I never feel old, really. There's nothing that makes you feel old until somebody goes, oh man, I remember I was at that show. My dad took me to that show. I was 12. I'm like, what happened?
Right.
What happened to my life? But no, it was a great experience. I regret nothing. And it was just a very cool time. My son even got to see me wrestle a bunch. So
oh, nice. Very cool.
That was great. That was great.
Yeah, that's huge for him. You know what I mean? Like that's a memory that he's never going to forget, let alone anything else. But that's like important. That's an important part because when he's older, he's going to be telling stories and seeing things and with friends and doing whatever. So that's awesome, man. Like it's kind of what we do, right?
Do crazy that was one of the things. Yeah, the kids impacts a lot of my life. I'm a big family guy, and I think that anybody that follows my content knows that's one of my
one thing I noticed when looking at your Instagram and stuff like that. I was like, oh, this, like, I have to mention then that, father and, husband and father, because I could tell. I'm like, even just looking without even reading stuff, I'm like, no, my man's got passion for his family, which we should. And honestly, I mean, I'm biased here because it's jujitsu guys, but I say it all the time. When you're in a gym and you're around jujitsu guys, this kind of bleeds into you. You kind of become maybe a little more passionate about certain things around your life. You know what I mean? So, which again, that's why I love jujitsu.
My family was always the most important thing in my life. And that's why when my wife had that talk with me, I didn't need any convincing, because if somebody comes to you and says, hey, this thing that means more to you than anything else in the world, you're going to lose it unless you just do these little relatively easy things and stop being a selfish asshole. And so I did. And, one of my core values is leading by example. So I felt like that was one of the ways that I could show, even my kids don't see it. They'll be able to hear the story later.
Yeah,
and
for
understand that it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to say, I am not being the best version of myself. I'm far from it, and I need to improve. And I would do anything for them. And obviously it's very beneficial for me to go through that transformative process, but I did it to make sure our family as a whole was together and stayed connected. And it's only everything we've gone through. Like when you have a good relationship with your partner, everything, no matter how shitty it is, just if you get through it, just galvanizes your relationship even
amplifies
more.
For sure.
Yeah, exactly. And we have a better relationship than ever. My kids and I, we do better than ever. Everything's the best it's ever been.
Nice. And that's awesome, man.
I owe everything to the work I put in on myself.
And that, like you said earlier, therapy, medication, I implore to people all the time, like, if it's recommended and it's something that's going to help you make that transition, then do it. There's nothing wrong with therapy. If someone's like, oh, I'm going to therapy, I'm like, good for you, because you're probably going for a reason.
Sure.
You're going for something to help you out, man. And I encourage it. I tell you to get out there and do it. Like, don't be discouraged. And look, you don't have to tell people if you don't want to tell people, but I'm telling you, as all our listeners out there, like, do it. If you feel something's not right, because as Eric's saying, his wife came to him and that put a perspective. So then he fulfilled that. He wanted that to be everything with him. And it's important for people to understand that, we're all three guys who have families, gone through a lot of stuff. We're all in our 40. Well, you're 40, right, Eric?
41. Yeah.
41. So I'll say you're in your 40s. I'm 46 and Chad's almost 50. So I do this to him all the time. Like, I'm just trying to push him up there. Like what you're saying is, I think more people, I think it's getting better, but more people, or so many people out there still are afraid to go there, like to go, oh, I do need someone to talk to, or I do need some therapy.
It's men. You can say it.
It's men all the time.
They want to be tough. They want to do it. Then I was like, I want to do it myself. I couldn't do it myself.
Sure.
There's certain problems. Like if you have a cavity, do you go out in the garage and try to drill that bitch out yourself? No, you don't.
Yeah, no. If you have crazy people do.
Do you have an appendicitis? Do you go in the kitchen and start jabbing yourself trying to cut it out? No. If you're struggling with your mental health, you need a professional to help you through that. And take it from me, do not vent to your wife every night. because that will only make the relationship worse. Your wife, your partner is not your therapist. Do not treat her like that, because that is a lot of emotional weight to put on a person whose job it is not to, that's not your spouse's job.
Right.
It's okay to every once in a while to vent, to have a, shoulder to cry
you have
on,
those conversations,
right.
Far and few between though. You try.
Yes. But you don't want to, have these like conversations where these existential crises every single night with them. They're just trying to watch Netflix. That's what I was doing. And, obviously I can see it now, but in the moment I was just so lost and just so despondent. And I just didn't know what else to do besides vent to her. She's my best friend.
Right.
But she's got things going on. She had a job. She had all this stuff. And it was very selfish of me because she was doing really good in her business. And she felt like she couldn't celebrate these wins she was having because I was being the Debbie Downer. She'd be like, I signed these like 6 new clients and this and that. And I'd be like, well, my business is failing and I'm in a deep hole of despair. She's like, wow, fucking great. That's the kind of conversation you have with your
nice
therapist.
Husband. Nice.
Right. Just be happy for your partner, and then be sad sack when you go to see your therapist.
Which, listen, people, that's why therapists became therapists. So you can pay
them. They love to hear that.
They love to hear that. Were you gonna say something, Chad?
Nope.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say something, but you're 100% right. And obviously do jujitsu, because that's a good therapy too, to get things out. And as we always say, when you're in a role, you can't think about anything else. You have to be present on the mat in what you're doing, So I mean, that's important too. Do you get to watch a lot? Or go ahead. Say
the reason I started jujitsu actually was because I was doing powerlifting and my body just broke down. Like once I crossed 30. I couldn't, I actually got too strong for my little tiny joints. Thanks, Dad. I was squatting high fives. I was on the precipice of a 600-pound squat. I deadlifted 600 pounds. The bench is terrible. We're not going to talk about that. But I had gotten pretty damn strong. But my knees started to get hurt all the time. I had to get knee surgery, hip surgery. So I signed up to jiu-jitsu like a month after knee surgery. And I just wanted something that I could progress in. Because powerlifting, you can progress it to a certain point, but eventually your body's going to hold you back, your injuries. Jiu-jitsu, you see it all the time. These guys are getting their black belts and they're like 80. It's incredible. And it's all about knowledge and practical application of that knowledge. So that's what drew me to it. And funny story, when I first started training, I would wear my wrestling knee pads. And my professor would be like, why do you wear those? Like, I just had knee surgery. We would do shots and my knees would just be screaming. They'd swell up. And from wrestling and all that stuff, and from obviously the knee surgery. My professor, super Brazilian, he was like, just take the knee pads off. I was like, what do you mean? You just take them off. Eventually your knees will just callous. I go, that's bullshit. You just made that up. He's like, no, do it. Sure as shit. Took the knee pads off, gave it like 6 months. They just stopped swelling up. They just got used to it. I mean, they still hurt like a bitch. Like I have no padding left on my kneecaps.
I was gonna say it's just all bone, right? It's just all bone and skin.
Now. It's all bone, but thankfully those jiu-jitsu mats are pretty soft, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it is funny to get, not funny, but when you do sit back and you have newer guys and they're like, oh man, like this is rubbing so bad, or like the gi, if it's gi, and then or my feet, tear up the top of their feet because they're not picking their feet up, which I did. I have scars still, but now they're scarred over, callous and everything. And I'm like, don't worry. You'll eventually get past
It'll get better.
Just keep coming. And, as Chad would say, pick your feet up. I'm like, well, pick my feet up. What the heck
How
does
do you
that
do that?
mean? Right. I was like, what do you
it?
mean? He's like, just pick your feet up. And then eventually my feet pick themselves up.
People ask me, go, what do you do about the gi? I go, listen, man, I'm the wrong one to ask. Since day one, I wear a long sleeve rash guard and spats, no matter what. Gi, no gi, 110 degrees outside. I do not care. I don't like that feeling of the canvas. It gives me the ick. I'm just like, oh, it's like wearing a burlap sack. It's like just straight. I've always hated it. So people were, but I'm also the asshole that's like, turn that fan off. I don't like that. They're like, what are you talking about? It's like 80 degrees here. I'm like, yeah, and let's go. I'm in Florida, man. Give me that 100% humidity, 100 degrees. Let's sweat. That's what we're here for, right?
That's what I love. Like I love, Chad, when I walk in and I'm like, ooh, it's nice and hot in here. I was like, sweet. And we have a huge gym. Like how many square feet do we have on
6,000 square foot.
6,000 square foot. Yeah. Nice. All matted. And
That's great. I mean, look, we're older too, right? When you're cold, all the ligaments get tight. There's not as much blood flow. When you're warm, it's like, it just feels so good. Like I go out in my garage, I train in my garage, and I wear a sweatshirt. I mean, I take it off for the gram because I got to film myself shirtless, but I put it back on.
Sure.
I'm like, I'm going to take it off. I'm like, here's the fruits of my labor. You know, people like that shit. It's very superficial, but I put the sweatshirt back on. I run with it on, you know, I'll go out. I think I'm doing an outdoor run tomorrow, and I'll probably wear a long sleeve just because I don't like getting bit by bugs. You know, I don't like that. So I like being warm. I've always liked being warm.
I love it. I love running when it's super hot. Like I haven't ran a long time, but my wife is like, she hates it. She's totally opposite, which is hilarious. She's like, I don't know how you used to run. Like you'd go run a half marathon in 85-degree weather and just be like, oh, I love it. And I'm going, yeah, I loved it. Like it didn't bother me. I hated kind of running in the wintertime because I'm like, and we live in Northeast Ohio, so it's pretty bad here.
I know. Trust me, I know how bad it gets up there. My parents are from Ohio. My parents are from Ohio.
Nice. Okay.
And so my parents are from Salem, which is
okay.
Oh yeah. For those of you guys out there who don't live in Ohio, it's like, you ever watch those Hallmark movies where like, there's no way a town can actually exist like this, where there's like 2 gas stations, 1 Taco Bell, the Walmart's like a big hangout. So, no, places like that exist. I've been there, and that's Salem. Yes. So a lot of my family were up there. I had a lot of great memories from hanging out there. Plus, you know, wrestling Cleveland a bunch. Had a lot of fun. Oh yeah,
okay, nice.
So I like Ohio, but I can't handle the weather, man. I'm not built for that weather. I am not. I cannot deal with cold. And we got the Peloton tread specifically because once it gets below 70 in the morning, I don't like running because the wind gets a little chilly. And
You're like, I'm not doing this,
dude. I'm a stereotypical Florida guy. Like I just do not like being cold, and I'm not going to try to be tough. You know,
no, you're honest about it. You know,
I love being hot. I love sweating, except for when I'm in here. I wish I had AC in here, but I got this fan back here. I have 3 different fans. So luckily it's the end of the day, so it's not that hot, but I like it. I think
we want to be hot on our own terms, right? Like in the gym, you know, like,
oh, it's so true. I hate sweating when I'm not supposed to sweat, you know, like when I'm walking into my car, I got a nice outfit on. I got the pit. I'm like, what? I got swamp ass.
You're
going.
like,
I'm like,
come on. I know.
No, I don't like that, dude.
Yeah.
This is totally not relevant to anything, but I was at my nephew's birthday party today and someone was talking about jujitsu. Chad, you'll get a kick out of this. I was showing wrist locks to 2 people because they were like, what's a wrist lock? And I was like,
you're that guy. You're that guy at the party. lay down. Hold on. Just lay down real quick.
Yeah. I did it just behind. Like I just went behind and grabbed their arm and kind of pinned their elbow and they're like, and I'm like, I told you. I was like, it's a wrist lock. It's like, no big deal. It really hurts. One guy was like, well, do you work out a lot still? Do you like lift weights a lot? And I was like, no, I just go and train. I was like, I do kettlebell work, push-ups and like pull-ups and stuff like that at home. It's all body weight. I'm 46 years old. I was like, I don't really do the gym anymore that much. I said all my cardio work is mostly jujitsu now. And he was like, really? He was like, aren't you worried about like not being strong enough for jujitsu? And I was like, dude, we love people who think they're super, super strong. And then they're like, I'm like, cause you don't know anything. I was like, you just saw me showing a wrist lock and those guys were like, like, I'm like, let me do that to you. And you don't even know what's coming. I was like, I don't care how strong you are. You bench 500 pounds. I don't care. Yeah. Doesn't matter to me. And he's like, really? And I was like, yeah, like that's the whole point of jujitsu. Strength, it matters. But in your capacity and your brain is telling me you need to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger and you don't. Like you can be very fit and be very good at this. And I don't have to do that anymore either because I much rather do body weight working out because it's much better for me anyway at this point in my life.
I don't think people really realize, you know, how they correlate strength with a certain type of physique, right?
It's sure.
The strongest guys I've ever, I know there's some great, like there's like powerlifter guys that are really good at jiu-jitsu and they're pretty strong, but the strongest guys that I've ever grappled with were the guys who didn't even lift weights. Like at my old gym before I switched gyms, and that's a story unto itself, but our mat enforcer was a brown belt, didn't lift weights, but he'd worked construction since he was like 10. And even though now he owns his own construction company, you know, you don't lose that tensile strength.
Yep.
When he would make a grip, and I'm like, this dude is out of shape. He was out of shape.
Sure.
But he knew how to manage his breathing, which is a very vital skill for you new jiu-jitsu players. Like if you can't out control your breathing, you're gonna gas out super fast, especially once you start using that strength. But he wouldn't gas. He was heavy, obviously, because he got out of shape. It worked for him. And his grip strength was so nuts. And then, not to mention, if you're out there and you've ever with a 150-pound black belt, you know they can somehow defy the laws of gravity and create 400 pounds of pressure out of a 150-pound frame. You know, like
100%.
It's just it's immense pressure, and I don't understand how they do it. But that's why you don't need to focus so much on how much you're lifting. And I say it all the time to people who are like, what kind of workouts should I do? I go, stop worrying about your 1-rep maxes. Your 1-rep maxes are not going to benefit you in jiu-jitsu. However, your 20-rep max might, and even your isometric, whatever you can hold for an isometric, that's going to matter.
Sure.
Limit strength does not matter in jiu-jitsu because when you're escaping somebody's side control, you're not doing 1 rep. You're doing
exactly
a lot of little reps, and you're moving your whole body, and it's never in that, sagittal plane. It's a lot of transverse, it's a lot of rotation, and it's very hard to measure like how good am I going to be at jiu-jitsu by how strong I am. It doesn't matter. Train in a way that allows you, like you said, kettlebells, body. That's why I'm on the kettlebell train now myself, because I'm kind of lazy in the mornings. I know this flies in the face of my whole mindset, but like putting plates on stuff, I'm like, fuck it, let me just set these things up. I can work out in a 4x6 square. I can take the kettlebells anywhere I go. Like we're going to vacation in Orlando this coming week, and I'm bringing kettlebells because I can train. And and some days with jiu-jitsu and all that, like I have some rough days because tomorrow, for example, I will wake up at 4 to lift and run, and then I'll go teach jiu-jitsu at 6, probably grapple because I'm a dumbass and I can't resist rolling.
You can't. Once you're on the mat, it's so hard.
No, I'm more about, I got in there, I'm like, oh, I'm so tired and tight. And then once I got warm and I'm sweating, I'm like, let's do this.
Yes.
And then I got my whole day of fatherhood stuff. And then I go back to the gym. I teach my daughter's little kids class, which is hell on earth. And then I teach my son's big kid class. I help teach both these classes, like the assistant coach. And I help teach both those classes. And then in the third hour, I train myself. And,
nice.
And then so Tuesday nights, I will also train at night. And I'll have to train at night and then get up the next morning to do the 4 a.m. to the 6 a.m. class. And that's a hard turnaround. So I'm not ready to max out on my squat, frankly. I'm not going to do a heavy set of deadlifts after I literally just got done getting choked less than 10 hours ago. So, I'm not, and my adrenaline just came down. So I'm not trying to play with fire there. And that's one thing that you don't have to use your age as a crutch, but you have to be cognizant of your limitations. Your recovery is going to be compromised on those short turnarounds. If you're training frequently, you need to be cognizant of that. That's why your nutrition is important. And that's why you need to prioritize your sleep too. Because if you're not sleeping well and you're not eating well, you're going to run your ass into the ground.
Yeah, you will for sure. Definitely. Great points, Eric, for sure. Because there are so many people that do it. You know what I mean? Like they'll just go, oh, I can do it. And I was in that world for a long time. I was like, oh, I'm fine. I can do this. No problem. I mean, I quit running, but my wife would still, she's like, hey, I'm going to go do this fun 5K. You want to go run with me? And I'm like, sure, whatever. And she's like, you sure you can do it? Like, I know you haven't ran forever. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine, whatever. And I would run with her the whole time. And she's like, I hate you. Like, and I'm like, oh, I can only do this for so long. I was like, it's eventually my legs are going to start going, hey, stupid, you're not training me at all to do this type. You're just doing jujitsu, which yes, the training is, but it's completely different muscles. The twitching muscles and everything else are way different in running. I do still think that my cardio is much better with jujitsu versus just running, because that was proved to me when I got on the mat and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to die. All that running I did for years did nothing. But that's a whole nother thing. But anyway, but I told her, and then I did some, and recently I was like, no, dude, I go, sweetheart, I'm not, no more. Don't sign me up no more. It hurts now. Yeah. It's hurting because I'm not training for them, and it sucks. Yeah. And I don't want that.
Yeah. I've had a lot of discussions with jiu-jitsu athletes, and they ask me, cause they're like, oh, your cardio is so good. What do you do? And I go, first and foremost, nothing prepares you for full speed grappling. Even if you're not going 100%,
sure.
Maybe the other person's going 100%, but us men of advanced age.
Men of advanced age. That's a great, hey, that's my new, thank you.
we don't go 100% ever, but you have to, you got to get used to that sensation and that kind of cardio. It's very different than anything you're used to doing. But I truly believe that you need to diversify your cardiovascular work outside of the gym, not just to supplement your jiu-jitsu, because it will supplement your jiu-jitsu. Sure. And I'll talk about that in a second, but it will be good for your health. And I think that there's been there's been some recent studies showing that just grappling, just rolling is not enough to get cardiovascular adaptation gains. So you could get in good shape, but in order to get to that next level, you have to supplement with specifically zone 2 cardio. And I have found that diversifying my modalities, given 100% health, because sometimes I just can't do certain things.
Sure.
Because I'm a man of advanced age and shit happens. But I every week I bike, I row, and I run. And all of that, and kettlebells, obviously, with very short rest periods, in addition to body weight things like burpees, push-ups, all that kind of stuff. And I find that supplements things nicely, helps me burn fat more. And, once again, you're going to burn calories in jiu-jitsu, but it may not necessarily be the best form of fat loss for you. You might need to be the kind of person that needs to walk on the treadmill for 30 minutes. Now, don't laugh, but you put that bitch at a high enough
angle
setting of the angle, you have to get that 10-degree incline, you walk at 3 miles an hour. Trust me, you're going to get some cardiovascular adaptations out of that thing. It's
more than you think.
It's going to bust your ass. So, but if I had to pick something outside of jiu-jitsu that would supplement your rolling and actual jiu-jitsu, if you don't have an assault bike would be the best. That'd be number one. But if you don't have an assault bike, cycling, especially climbing with heavy resistance, and sprinting with heavy resistance would, in my opinion, give you the best carryover. Because if you think about it, when you're playing guard, what are you doing with those legs, man? What are you doing
constantly
with those
moving your legs,
constantly moving, constantly pushing,
trying to get them on the hips, trying to get them spread away, create space.
Exactly. And if you're on top, guess what? You're always moving.
Yep, your legs. Yep.
See, that's why the assault bike's the best, because it really does make you feel like you're in a fight. You got the arms moving, the legs moving, but not everybody has one of those. Also, they're so brutal. You end up just not using it out of spite because it hurts.
Because it hurts so bad.
You're just like, God, it's impossible to have an easy day on the assault bike. You just can't. You can't just do 30 minutes easy. You just you have to kill yourself every time. So, but yeah, I think it's really important that as we get older, we make sure we're taking care, because cardio it's not one of my, I'll get off my soapbox in a second, but this is what's been normalized in the fitness culture, getting out of jiu-jitsu, is that cardio is what you need to do to lose weight. That's not what you need to do.
Right.
Your diet is what makes you lose weight.
Yep. It's such a crazy thing that people, for whatever reason, cannot get that in their head. It blows me away.
Yeah. It's a calorie deficit.
Yep.
That gets you to lose weight. How many calories do you think you're actually burning on that treadmill? Maybe a Snickers bar at best.
Right.
Not even a king size.
Right. Right. Yeah. Just a regular,
250 or whatever it is.
Right.
So people need to stop worrying about that. They don't call it calorio. They call it cardio. It's in the fucking name.
Right.
It's good for your heart and lungs. And as we get older, we really need to pay attention to that. So don't be one of us men of advanced age who thinks that all they need to do is do jiu-jitsu. Because trust me, you're not doing yourself any favors. Get on that treadmill, walk for a little bit, go on walks outside, run every once in a while. If your body can handle it, row, cycle, do the assault bike if you hate yourself. But make sure to diversify.
Yeah. This kind of goes to something Eric and I talked to when we were messaging back and forth, and I was talking about diet a little bit with you, and you said something like jiu-jitsu guys are very meticulous on how you train, but you just wing it on diet, right? Yes. Because that's what everything revolves around. My eating revolves about when I train. If I'm going to do noon class, I don't eat till probably 2 o'clock.
Yep.
Because I'm not that morning eater guy. And then I work the rest of the day and I don't eat till 10 o'clock, and then I go to bed, which is terrible. I wonder why that is. Why are we like that?
Well, I mean, fasting has its place. I personally I train fasted. I do not like having food in my stomach. So
I'm the same.
When I switch to this new school, I have to do night classes, and I suck. I suck. I'm slow.
There's no energy just because
from the whole day. Yeah.
I was gonna say,
I'm sluggish. My blood sugar's all messed up. I'm not used to it. So that was one of the things that I had to get used to. I'm just going to suck more at night than I do in the morning. It's what it is. You know, when you get far enough in, you stop caring about getting tapped by guys who were 3 belts below. You're like, oh, you got me, whatever. I don't give a shit. It's like a video game to me. If I'll share that right now before I get into the nutrition part. When I first got into jiu-jitsu, I took it way too seriously because I was so competitive. I would be way too hard on myself, and it wasn't fun. And one day I had a light bulb moment. I go, this shit's just a video game. You start off, unless you were a wrestler or you had some kind of other background, sure. You were a judoka, you have 0 stats other than like some strength and speed and stamina. You know, your jiu-jitsu is a 0. Your grappling is a 0. Everything's a 0. Submissions, defense, escapes, everything sucks. But here's the good news. If you just keep playing the game, you learn all sorts of cool stuff and your stats improve. The best part about jiu-jitsu is, even as you level up, like there's new moves that come out all the time, or maybe they get rediscovered. As my professor says, he goes, I saw that shit in 1996, man. They've already done it. Like, they just didn't
it's the same
film
thing Chad says every time.
Yeah, they didn't film it. Okay, now everybody sees it on Instagram. So, but it's like a game that constantly gets updates, just update after update, and it's always evolving. And that's when I started treating it like a video game. Sometimes you guys who play online, you play Madden. Sometimes you're the hammer. Sometimes you're the nail. Yeah. Even when you're really good, you get caught every once in a while. So you just got to release the idea that even if you're like a brown belt, that a purple belt or a blue belt or even a white belt can't get lucky or just out jiu-jitsu you. Some days they're just better at jiu-jitsu than you. You have to swallow that pill. It sucks, but everybody loses. Michael Jordan lost. Yeah. You better than Michael Jordan?
Right.
No,
exactly.
You're not.
Right.
You're not the Michael Jordan of jiu-jitsu. So it was okay.
Right. Exactly. Right.
So speaking of that, it's really ironic that these guys will go, I want to be like Gordon Ryan. I want to be like this guy. I want to be like this guy. And so they'll train 3 times a day. They'll lift weights. They'll get on steroids, whatever. Sure. And then they'll just be like, my diet's, I just kind of do this. What? Right. The best in the world. It's not a 80% thing. It's the diet is so important. Yeah. Especially when you're training frequently, you need to have that optimized, dialed in, and it has to be very detail oriented and meticulously tracked. You can't just wing it. Or otherwise you're going to run yourself into the ground really quick.
And you're going to get hurt. You're going to get hurt.
And you're not going to live up to your own potential.
Right.
You won't.
Yeah, if your body starts breaking down when it doesn't have those right nutrients. I mean, I will know. I'll do the same thing. My wife is always like, God, and it's been like this forever now, but I don't eat before I go to night class. I just don't. I'm like, I'll eat dinner when I get home. Like
that's what I did.
The chicken and green beans, like put them in the microwave. I'll just warm it up and like whatever when I get home. And I get home at whatever 9:30, 9:45 if I stay late or whatever. And it's like I will hurt more, like my body will ache more. And I'm like, crap, it's because I didn't eat. Like I'll like get up and look like a 70-year-old man trying to walk across, that's never done anything but just beat his body up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sore. And I'm like, oh, well, it's because you don't have any nutrients in your body, stupid. Like this is why you're in pain. Like you need to start eating again on the right schedule, or do something earlier, like grab a handful of almonds and eat some almonds before you go or something, you know what I mean? To have that protein and that little bit of intake into your body. And it's a bad thing in jiu-jitsu. Like we tend to not do that. I would get sick too if I did it though. Like if I ate and then went and did it, I would probably throw up.
I just get crampy, man. It's just, I feel everything sloshing around, while you're running, you start to cramp. And that's why I love training fasted. I wake up at 4. Of course, I ingest some caffeine because it's 4 a.m. Right. And I get to work. And then I drink a little bit of water because I have to, because first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I drink like 20 ounces of water. A lot of times I put sea salt in it because,
nice. Okay.
You wake up dehydrated no matter what you drank the night before. So it's very important you start the day off. It doesn't taste that great, but it serves its purpose.
Goes down quick.
I've been really getting into, I'm really happy that these hydration drinks have evolved, like Prime and Body Armor, to the point where they're taking the formulations seriously, not like Gatorade and Powerade Zero, which is like, there's some electrolytes in there. They'll put coconut water and some other stuff in there that really helps hydrate you. And Prime tastes good as hell. I got to be honest. I would love a Prime sponsorship. That would be awesome, but I'm not famous enough yet. I'll take my Ghost and my peanut butter, my Flex Pro meals that he did.
Sure.
There's some, yeah, Fit Butters. Big shout out to Fit Butters. Big shout out to Ghost. And big shout out to Flex Pro meals. Those are my 3 companies. And I'm not one of those influencers that will sell their soul for anybody. I got to try it. If I don't like it, thank you, but no, thank you. So I won't put my name on there. But yeah, it's just really important that we have some kind of game plan as far as what we're putting into our bodies.
Yeah. I mean, you have to know. It was interesting. Like, so we, we're blessed with, we had a sponsorship that was I won't name them. And I was like, man, it's really good, kind of really sour. We're not with them anymore. But then Chad was like, you see how much sugar's in that? And I'm like, you know what? I never even paid attention. And I looked at it, I was like, holy moly. I was like, there's a ton of sugar in this. I was like, it didn't even really dawned on me. I was just like, oh, this is a hydration. It's great. We love it. It tastes good. And they sponsor the show. Like, I'm like, okay. But then after that, and then looking at, because I kept buying it even after we weren't with them. It was because I liked it. And then
it was good.
It was good. And then when Chad told me all the sugar was in it, I was like, see you later. I was like, you're out. No, thank you. Me and sugar don't get along so well because I'm a borderline diabetic. Like, I'm a borderline type 2 diabetic, and it runs in my family. So nothing that I've done. It's just, hey, be smart, Terry. And that's actually, that's why I started measuring my foods so long ago and kept track of my macros. The biggest thing that I hate now is because I have both my arms tattooed, and watches do not read through tattoo ink. So I like the digitally reading. It's like crap. Like, it doesn't exactly read certain things like heart rate and stuff like it used to. So like when you said zone 2, like I used to do that. I used to be like, oh sweet, I'm in zone 2 when I would run.
We'll say, I don't know.
I was going to
talk shit on Apple, right? But the Apple Watch wouldn't always fuck up, but the Whoop does not fuck up. So
I was going to ask what you used when you had, when you brought that up, and I was like, man, I wonder what Eric uses. My wife ended up going to a Garmin. Obviously, she
that's tattoos. The next level after Whoop. You would get a Garmin. Garmin's are nice.
She loves hers. I mean, and I've been amazed with it. She just got a new one digital. Oh, this is what we do. We're whatever, derail anything, right, Chad?
Yeah.
But
I have ADHD. It's okay.
it tells you like, oh, you're in this zone or you're in recovery zone. I was blown away. Like, I'm like, man, I've used everything from Fitbit to Apple to Whoop is one thing I haven't used. But now I have tattoos, and I'm like, I can't get a Garmin. I want a Garmin. I was like, I want one of those.
I wear this during jiu-jitsu. I have a little bicep band, and I put it underneath my bicep, and it's really fun to see who are the rest rolls and who are not the rest rolls on the graph. You can see like, oh, that's Teddy. He's a wrestler. He's a hard one. He's one of my arch nemesis. That's my kryptonite is wrestlers. I fucking ironically like those wrestlers, man. They give me trouble because I love to play on my back, and I'm like, no, we're not doing that today.
Not today.
So yeah, but you can see that in the spike, and it's really cool. Sometimes you go to open mat, like, oh, I burn like 700 calories in an hour. That's awesome. That's very cool. Yeah, and that's just a testament to how important, like how great jiu-jitsu is for your health. Like, it's constant movement. It's perpetual. As long as you're not a lazy dead fish. That's one of the things I always tell the new guys. I go, guys, I don't give a shit what you know. You can just do whatever. You can spaz, but don't be the guy that just lays there, please. Because like you said, it's a everybody feeds off each other in a jiu-jitsu gym. The atmosphere, the culture, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And when you got a dead fish laying there, the iron isn't sharpening the iron. Iron can't. But whatever. Hot dog can't sharpen iron. You're just laying there. It's not. You're not helping me now. We're not helping each other. So I'm always adamant. Even with the kids, I'm like, come on. It's my son. I'm like, come on. I know he's beating your ass, but like, move more. Move
more a little
bit.
Let's
go. Yeah, exactly.
I'll ask. Like, I'm a question guy. I always ask stuff to Chad who will watch whatever jujitsu stuff, and he's like, he's not moving. Like, that's why. Like, he needs to move. Like, you need to move. Like, you can't just sit there. Or he should yell at me, which loyal listeners know this, which is a joke on me. Terry, you can't pass from your knees, man. Like, get off your knees. Like, you can't pat. He'd yell across the gym, Terry, get off your knees. Get off your knees. 40 people in the gym. I'm one guy. I'm like, crap. But it also broke me of going every time I'm there. If I'm ever on my knees, ever, and I'm in that position and someone gets in the guard, or they try to get in the guard and I'm on my knees, and they open the guard and I stay there, I know I'm like, dude, you're being lazy. you're being lazy. You don't want to stand up because you know you can't pass from here. You can't do nothing from right here. You got to stand up and start moving. And he's always been in my head for that. So I'm like, cool. Like that helps me a ton in my jiu-jitsu journey. But I completely forget what I'm doing, like what I was going to say, but anyway,
your point.
That's just like my whole point of it. Yeah. My whole point was move. Oh yeah. Don't be lazy. Like, don't just,
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that was
don't be a dead fish.
Overreaching messages. Yes. Don't be a lazy piece of shit. Just, I don't care. I don't care if you're on the verge of barfing. I want you to keep moving. I want you to do something, like move your arms, frame, please do something, try to shrimp, make an attempt at playing jiu-jitsu, please, for the love of God, make this interesting.
Yes.
I'm like, don't make me Peruvian necktie you or 10-finger choke you, or just do something. Just I don't want to do it.
Right. I need you to move so I can actually work on something.
Yeah. Don't just land. You give me there's the variation of the 10-finger. They call it like the Death Star or something. We just get like a guillotine grip. You're just like,
squeeze.
I'll do that too. I'm just like, you deserve this. Frankly, you deserve this Peruvian necktie. You deserve whatever kind of horrible thing I can do to you right now because you've not made this fun for us.
Having the Peruvian necktie done to me for the first time, and I was like, "What the?" I was like, "What is that?" One of our other black belts, Pete Chad, did it to me.
Yeah.
He loves that move, and he did it with both legs over the shoulders. Like
I was gonna say, stay too long with that turtle, man. You pay for it. You shouldn't. It's not a safe space. It's not a safe space.
Yeah, that's one of my big things at jiu-jitsu tournaments when I go to coach the guys is play around on your feet for a little bit, couple minutes. And if nothing's happened, just pull, make something happen. Like you paid good money to come here, not to dance with somebody. You want to play jiu-jitsu, right? And I think that happens a lot where guys just want to grip up and not give in.
You watch so many matches. Like, Eric, how much jiu-jitsu you get to watch? I was going to ask that earlier. Do you watch a lot? Do you ever watch?
I don't watch a ton of full matches, but I do, I follow Flow Grappling. I follow all these guys and I watch I follow a ton of jiu-jitsu guys. So I end up watching a lot of jiu-jitsu as a on a weekly basis.
Sure.
Yeah. But honestly, if I could be 100% honest, I find competitive jiu-jitsu largely boring. It's outside of the money tournaments and like the thing they just did on the UFC
Fight Pass with
that was
Eric Ellie and stuff.
Or like EBI or ADCC. Not the I mean the opening the trials are cool too, but unless there's like the killers are out, and it's not just two dudes trying to outpoint each other because they're both Brazilian or something. I don't know.
Sure. And you're right. I mean, on Flow you can watch any of those worlds, whatever it is, and you do start watching, you're like, this is terrible. I text Chad and I'm like, it's kind of bad. Or he's like, I'm not watching this. Like, what are you doing?
It's like, if jiu-jitsu people don't want to watch it, you're never going to get anybody to watch it. I mean,
right.
But that's a whole nother topic and podcast,
Right. Exactly. Well, dude, we held you for way over an hour, or pretty good over an hour. Can't thank you enough, man. It's so awesome.
I appreciate it.
With you, Eric, and God bless you and your family and everything you're doing, brother. Keep it up, man. If you ever need anything, if there's like the least we could do, like, hey, you got another topic you want to talk about, and we could spread the word. That's what we wanted to do with this podcast. We've been at it for 2 years now. So it's like spread the word as much as we can on positive things, helping people out, getting stuff out there, changing people's lives, making people okay to be uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like put them in uncomfortable positions or situations like the jiu-jitsu world, but let them know that they're going to be okay. And there's people like us that will back them up and help them out. So,
I mean, the impetus for change is typically being uncomfortable. And ironically, in order to change, you have to get even more uncomfortable. And I think that's what keeps people in their hole, trapped in these cycles. And it kept me down for so long because I was, I guess, almost frightened of my own greatness. And there's that quote that's in Coach Carter. It's a Marianne Williamson poem, and it's about our greatest fear. Our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure.
Mm-hmm.
And for so many years, I made myself small and quiet because I was scared of being judged. But what I was doing was being selfish because I had something, but now I know I have something to give to the world. I knew I could help people, but I was so scared to let my actual voice be heard, for better or for worse, that I stayed small and I stayed quiet. And that was selfish of me. And once I stopped being scared of stepping into my power and just embracing that shit, so many doors opened for me. So I want everybody to realize that you're oftentimes the biggest limitation of yourself. Like you're the one getting in your own way. You're the one telling yourself you can't do it. Nobody else is telling you that. And you're just scared of what people might say. Fuck that. You will waste your life if you are worried about what other people might say. You just got to live your best life and do what makes you happy, and helping people really makes me happy.
I'm going to piggyback one thing.
Yeah.
Don't be the what ifs, people.
Yeah.
Don't say what if. What if I did that? Oh, what if? Don't tomorrow go, what if I did that? Because it's too late, guys, gals, anyone out there listening, like, don't be the what if. And if you have kids, what Eric just said, I resonate it. Start teaching your kids that same values, those values, because it goes a long way, man. I mean, teach your kids to start changing that mindset, because everything that they're seeing out there in the world and stuff,
and you can't tell them. You can't tell them because they're kids. They're not going to listen to shit.
They're not going to listen.
The only way they're going to learn is by watching you. And if you do not live what you like, if you don't walk the path that you preach, like I live my message every single day. And that's why no matter how much of a dickhead I might come off as in my videos, like how harsh I can be.
Sure.
I want people to understand that this is real. This is not a character. This is, maybe I dial it up a little bit, have a little bit too much caffeine. I have a client that's pissing me off and I want to talk about something, or I have a conversation with somebody. But the thing is, like, I live this life. And that's why I'm so passionate and so loud about it, because this shit makes me feel so good. It's like jujitsu. Like, you don't stop talking about jujitsu to people when someone's like, "Oh, you do jujitsu?" Like, yeah, you should do it too.
Right, exactly.
So people go, "What do you do?" They're like, "What do you do?" Like, how'd you get in this kind of shape? And I'm like, this, and this, and that. You should do it too. Let me help you do it.
Yeah,
that's my whole business.
Nice. That's awesome, man. I love it.
That's awesome.
Shout out your website real quick. Everything. Shout out anything.
Anything you want. Here we go. Social media handles. Eric Koenreich. Now it's not as easy to spell as it is to pronounce. So ERICKOENREICH. There's only one of me. There's only one. You're not going to get any sort of confusion out there. It's a very unique last name. The website's tireddadfitnessclub.com, although I'm now expanding to erickoenreich.com because I do not want to be limited to the niche of fathers only. Dads are my specialty, I should say. You know what I mean? Like when you're in jiu-jitsu, you got like that one technique you're really good at. Like you could do an instructional on it, and everything else is decent, but you got that one, you're like, this is my thing. So dads, because obviously I relate to dads and I'm a dad myself, I find that's my niche, and they struggle the most with balancing things. So I have the most to give to them. But I also want to help just men, because like we talked about previously, men are so hard-headed and they are too tough for their own good. And they don't want to ask for help, but they struggle in silence like I did for so long. And I at least would like to be the kind of person that I needed back then.
Yeah, for sure. To
reach out to, and then to have kicked my ass. Be like, no, get your fucking ass up. Stop feeling sorry for your sad sack ass. Nobody else is feeling sorry for you. The world owes you nothing.
Right.
Get the fuck up and start
go do it.
Start manning up for your family.
Yeah. You have to. Hey, the website, is the other one going yet? No,
it's just placeholder now.
It's just placeholder. Okay.
Yeah, but I want to make sure that.
Okay. Well, what I do, and in the show notes, I always, all that stuff's in there. I put links to it so they can just click on it, go right to Instagram for you. And then I know you have a LinkedIn. I'll put your LinkedIn in there as well. That way people just can, whatever.
Oh, like the LinkTr? LinkTr.
Yeah, right? I always put or did I say LinkedIn? I said LinkedIn.
Yeah.
No, I meant
I'm not professional. I'm not professional at all.
I meant LinkedIn.
That's my wife. My wife's on LinkedIn. She's like the professional one. I'm just a meathead who has a lot of passion.
That's good. Chad, you got anything for him, man?
No, man. I appreciate your time, brother. I know you're busy.
Sure. Keep up.
I appreciate you guys having me. This is a big ask. I like you guys when I was showing up for 8 o'clock, because this is almost my bed. It's actually my bedtime right now. So that's another thing. Hey, prioritize your sleep, men of advanced age. Stop staying up so late. You think I get up at 4 a.m. because I'm like Jocko Willnick or David Goggins? No, I'm not that fucking hardcore. I just go to sleep at 9 o'clock.
Right. You're like, I go to sleep at a reasonable hour.
It's not a secret. Yeah,
exactly.
Like I take a THC gummy. Yes, I do edibles. So I'm very adamant. I'm a mental health advocate, but I'm also an advocate for weed and for mushrooms, for psilocybin. I think that those things, while they're vilified, and alcohol is promoted and celebrated, I think those things need to be more accepted in therapeutic and medicinal use, because
it's super
funny.
This
is a story
it's
for
a
another
culture,
time.
Man. It's a culture.
My psilocybin experience was and this is the full circle, right? Because the first question you asked me, and this is exclusive. I haven't talked about this on social media at all. What broke the dam open? What opened the floodgates? My wife and I went on a little trip, literally a trip. We went to Key Largo in April, and we did mushrooms for the first time. And it was a transformative experience. And it really opened my eyes. And I was like, this is what I need to do. I need to go all in. I need to start doing this and that and that and that. And it's not like booze. You know, it's not like when you get drunk, people who've never done mushrooms, you don't forget everything that happens.
Sure.
All the experiences, the emotions, the sensations, and the thoughts stick with you. And yeah, so I'm a big believer in that stuff. I don't know if everybody would have the same experience as me, but I love them. And I think that alcohol is the devil. So there's that.
There you go.
There's that. So earlier in the podcast, I took a picture of my screen and sent it to Dom. He's like, I can't believe he's not in bed already.
I know. See, I like you guys. Otherwise, I'd be up right now. Wife's looking at her watch, she's reading her Kindle right now. She's like, where the fuck is he?
Right.
She's like those light sleepers, man. And she's really, if she doesn't get exactly 7.5, she's like, ugh. I'm like, you're soft. You're soft.
You blame the podcast guys. Blame LimitLess.
I know, right? Yeah, you guys will put the bill on this one.
Yeah. All right,
my man. Hey,
appreciate it.
Yeah. Take care.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for having me. This is awesome.
For sure. Keep doing what you're doing, brother. All right.
Thank you.
All right, man. We'll see you
later.
See you.